Kishore sir, ready?
Ready, sir.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheswara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Okay, sir, you can start.
Right, Ji, right. Okay, Murthy ji. So now the today's topic which we are going to discuss, that is that how we need to predict the childbirth in a, from a natal chart, and then in the next lecture I'll discuss with you that how we can use the horary chart to predict that what is the date for the birth of the child. And in horary case, we have three different type of charts we are likely to have. So I'll keep on discussing till the topic on childbirth is clear to everybody. Now, in the present case, I'm going to discuss the natal chart and how by looking at the natal chart, we can predict that what is the time, what is the month, what is the year, what is the time at which the birth of child can happen to a native. For this purpose, I am going to post a chart, and I am going to post the same chart which Murthy ji has already discussed with you in class. That was about the marriage of the native. Now we'll proceed ahead of marriage, that how after the marriage we can predict that which is the possible year where the birth of child that can take place. Now before I go into the details for the chart and I post the chart, there are few points which we always need to keep in mind, when we are predicting the childbirth. First point, the primary house for the childbirth, that is fifth house, and the supporting houses to the fifth house, they are second and 11. Now since 5 is the primary house, therefore the third and the seventh house, they are also very important as far as predicting the childbirth is concerned. Why I'm saying so? The third house is 11th to 5th house, and the seventh house is third to fifth house. Any house which is three houses apart from the primary house is a multiple house. So when I'm talking of seventh house, we can talk about the birth of the second child. And when I'm talking of the third house, which is 11 to the fifth house, then it's a house, that would mean fulfillment of the desire. So both the houses, third house and seventh house, they strongly favor the fifth house. As far as the negative houses to the fifth house is concerned, the fourth house, which is the 12th to the fifth house, the 12th house, which is the 8th to the fifth house, plus the 8th house, they are all houses, which we say they do not favor the birth of the child. Now, the apart from this, see, when we are talking about the birth of child, we have to primarily focus upon 5, 2, and 11. Okay. And the very first thing which we need to look into a chart is that we have to first of all check the potency as well as the procreative power of the native, that whether he has a potency, in other words, in simple words, would mean that whether he has got the power to perform the sexual acts, and secondly the procreative power, that whether he is able to produce child or he is unable to produce child. Now for this purpose, what we do is we focus on the fifth sub sublord. The fifth sub sublord, if it is connected to the 11th house through its star lord, to the 5th house through its sublord, or to the 5 or 11 through its sublord. It can be either ways. Our
A bit
primary.
slow, we are noting. Bit slow.
G. Okay. So I'll be a bit slow, right? Can I speak in Hindi as well if there is some problem with some people, or should I carry on in English only?
English, sir. English, sir.
Only
English,
English.
sir. Only English,
Well,
sir.
okay, only English. So then, now what I was telling is that the primary house for the birth of the child is fifth house, and fifth house has got two supporting houses, which are the second house and the 11th house. In addition to this, the third house and the seventh house are also very important because the third and the seventh house strongly support the fifth house. That is first part. Now, the next point is we are talking of childbirth. We have to check whether the native has got the potency and the procreative power to produce a child or not. What do I mean by saying potency? Potency in simple word means that whether the person is in a position to perform the sexual acts or not. That is the meaning of the word potency. Secondly, the procreative power means that whether he is capable to produce a child, to produce his offspring or not. Now, these two terms they are different. A person may have potency, may not be in a position to produce a child. For a person to produce a child, he should have both potency as well as procreative power. Now, how do we check the potency? In order to check the potency, what we need to do is we need to focus upon the fifth sublord. If the fifth sublord gives a promise of 5 and 11, that is, the star lord is appearing in 5 and the sublord in 11, or the star lord is appearing in 5 and 11, and then finally the sublord is appearing in 11 or 5 or 2, then if 5 and 11 linkages is there, along with 2 it is very good. I am basically focusing on the potency. So for the purpose of potency, the fifth sublord should be necessarily linked to the fifth cusp as well as to the 11th cusp through its star lord or through its sublord, and at the same time, if there is an appearance of 2, it is very good. So, after having checked the potency of a person, we need to check the procreative power. And to know the procreative power of a person, again we have to focus on the fifth sublord. Now, what is the difference between what I discussed earlier and between the procreative power? Over there, I did not focus upon 2. I said that fifth should be linked to 5 and 11. It is okay for potency. If fifth is linked to 5, 11, and 2, then the person also has a procreative power because the appearance of second house is addition to family, and unless and until the star lord or the sublord is directly or indirectly linked to 2 and 5, the person will not be having a procreative power. Is this point clear, please?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is it clear? So we have to initially, when we look into the natal chart, we have to look at the potency of the native, and at the same time, we have to focus on his procreative power, that whether he can reproduce his offsprings or not. Now, the next point is that after having known his potency or procreative power, then when we talk about when we talk about the group combinations, then a person may be in a position to produce a child, and at the same time, if the star lord and sublord they are linked to the unfavorable houses. The unfavorable houses are 4, 8, and 12. Now, one thing you always need to keep in mind, and what is that? That the fourth house, the eighth house, and the 12th house to any primary house is always unfavorable. Here, the primary house is 5, thereby 4, 8, and 12 automatically are going to be unfavorable houses. Now, if 4 and 12 appear, then there are chances of abortion depending upon what is Dasha Bhukti Antara Sukshma and Prana at that period of time. What is where the planets are transiting at that particular moment of time. If 8 also appears along with 4 and 12, then it means that the termination of pregnancy is there, or there is hospitalization, some kind of surgery is there, and the termination is with the surgery. So, appearance of 4, 8, and 12, which are unfavorable houses, would mean I will divide these houses into two sets. The first one is 4 and 12. Appearance of 4 and 12 together means that there are chances of abortion or termination of pregnancy subject to condition that the transit favors. Unless and until the transit is favorable, this may not happen because 4 and 12 may appear as such. 4 means education is related to education up to the primary standard. 12 means investments, 12 means losses, 12 means journey, 12 means change of place. It can be number of things. So that's why I'm focusing that the transit in such case is very important. Now, in addition to this, if 8 and 12 appear, then 8 means surgery, 12 means hospitalization. It means that the childbirth is likely to happen with a cesarean operation. Okay. Now, if while studying the birth of the child, 4, 8, and 12 appear at the Sukshma level or at the Prana level, then here also it means termination of pregnancy, means childbirth hoga with the termination, because childbirth means termination of pregnancy. So 4, 8, and 12 also means termination of pregnancy. Now, how we are to use it would depend upon the chart, would depend upon the time periods. And as we discuss the chart, I'll make this point clear to you. Then the next point is we have to know about the sex of the child. What is the sex of the child? Now, if you look into the books, what has been given by Khullarji, he has very clearly written in his books that there is no foolproof method to determine the sex of the child. So, simply what we can say is we can simply say that there are chances of male or there are chances of female, and in such cases, the accuracy may happen, may be there up to 80%, maybe 85%. Beyond that, we cannot promise. And at times, it can be even 100%. Sometimes you make a prediction, it comes out to be true. And sometimes, on the basis of the rules to predict the sex of the child, if you make predictions, they happen to be untrue because there is no foolproof method to determine the sex of the child. Now, how do we know about the sex of the child? There are many rules for it. The first point is that we just look into the planets which are co-ruling the fifth cusp. You know that every cusp has got four co-rulers in terms of sign lord, in terms of star lord, in terms of sublord, and in terms of sub-sublord. We will note down the planets: sign lord, star lord, sublord, sub-sublord. And then we will look into the natal chart. And in the natal chart, that is natal bhava chart, we will look into the natal bhava chart that where in which signs these planets are placed. Now, if they are placed in odd signs 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, which are male signs, then there is more probability of a male. And if they are placed in female signs, there is more probability of female. Now, here again, we may have combinations. All the four are placed in male signs. All the four out of four, two are placed in male sign, two in female signs, three in male sign, one in female sign, three in female sign, one in male sign, or all the four they are placed in female signs. So then sometimes, you will find in certain charts, even when all the planets are placed in the female sign, there is a birth of male child. Then, in such cases, I already pointed out that since there is no foolproof method, so we cannot predict it to the extent of 100%. Yes, it is going to be a male child or it is going to be a female child. Now, the second way to predict is that we have to look at the sub-sublord of fifth cusp. What do I mean? Suppose the fifth sub-sublord is Mercury. We will look at the planet Mercury and we will see the sub-sublord of the Mercury. And if that sub-sublord of the Mercury, which is the sub-sublord of fifth cusp, it is placed in a male sign, we say there is more chances, more probability of getting a male. And if it is placed in a female sign, we shall say that there is more probability or more chances of getting a female sign. This is another way how you need to predict. One simple way to predict is that you look at the fifth sub-sublord, and after noting down the fifth sub-sublord, you look into the sign in which the fifth sub-sublord is placed. If it is placed in male sign, you say probability of male. And if it is in female sign, you say there is probability of a female. That is the third way how you can predict. Another way to predict, is on the basis of what? On the basis of the sub-sub arc. Now, when you look into the sub-sub arc of any particular cusp, then that sub-sub arc of any particular cusp, it may be rising at a particular moment of time and then maybe up to a particular instant of time. Now, that is the period during which that sub-sub arc is likely to appear. For such cases, I will explain this with an example in the chart. In such cases, then what do we do? That if suppose the sub-sub arc we are talking about, if the sub-sub arc is in a male sign, right? Then if the first half, if the first half of the sub-sub arc, जो space होता है, the space which is in the first half of the sub-sub arc, if it is in a male sign, we say there is more likely of a male to be born. And if it is in a female sign, then the second half of the sub-sub arc would mean that there are more chances of a male. I think you will understand what I am saying only when I give you an example or I discuss it with an example. So this is another way, how we can know that what is the what are the chances of getting either a male child or a female child. Now, the next point about the childbirth is about the birth of twins. Again, there is no sure shot method for predicting the birth of twins. And what has been given is that if there is a link between the ascendant and the third house, we say there is probability of the birth of twins. And people have also, stated that if the fifth sub-sublord that is placed in a dual sign, the sub-sublord of the fifth cusp is placed in a dual sign, or the sub-sublord of the fifth cusp is Mercury, or the sub-sublord of the fifth cusp is Jupiter, then in such cases, there is probability of getting twins, but there is no sure shot method to tell whether twins are likely to be there or twins are not likely to be there. Any questions up to this point? Any questions? Any doubts?
One doubt, sir.
Haji, you're welcome.
You said regarding potency,
Ji.
regarding first child.
Hmm.
Some people, most of the people we see, with one child they don't beget even if they want. Second child they will not be begetting. So,
Hmm.
do we think that potency or to procreation or something that is lacking at that time?
I think it is difficult to say like that. It is difficult to say like that because getting a child depends upon the will of both husband and wife.
No, even if they want, also
No,
some
no.
are not getting.
Ha,
There are
some are
such
not getting.
cases.
Then definitely, they are not getting is something to deal with the transit. If
Okay,
they are regularly trying and they are not getting it, then it is because of number of factors.
okay,
It is not that the potency is not there. Once you got a child, it means it shows that you have a potency. Okay,
right,
you have
right.
a procreative power.
Yes.
Now you are not getting the second child. There can be numerous reasons for it. Numerous reasons for it. So merely on the basis of astrology, we cannot say that when he is going to get the second child, he has lost his potency.
Okay, sir.
We can't say like that,
Okay. Thank you.
right? Any more questions, please?
Sir, through this chart, can we know whether the born child is a healthy or not?
Yes, it can be known. It can be known. We'll discuss it. We'll discuss it.
Like he should not have a handicapped polio like
Yes,
that.
yes. See, if predominantly sixth is not appearing, it means you are going to have a healthy child.
Okay, sir.
If
Okay,
if
sir.
somehow or the other 6 and 8 related to 12 and there are planets which are giving a combination like that, so it means that some kind of disease is there, so it has to be predicted based upon the chart. But anyhow, we can always tell whether you are going to have a healthy child or there is going to be a trouble, because what are the significations of the planets? On the basis of those significations we can make out that there is going to be some problem or everything is going to be okay,
Okay, sir.
right? Any more
Yes.
questions, please?
Sometimes stillborn children are also born.
G G
That
G
is
G
also negative effect 4, 8, 12 only.
G.
Sir, for twin birth, you said link between ascendant and third house.
G. This is for twins, but I at the same time I pointed out that it is not a sure shot method to predict whether twins are likely to happen or not. It is one way.
So when we see that, we have to see the blood
G.
link
Correct.
between ascendant and third house.
G. Correct.
Okay, sir. And when it comes to miscarriage or
It is
abortion
that
termination,
that is 4 and 12 are predominantly participating in the significations of the planet. And if suppose the Dasha Bhukti and Antara for a particular planet is there, which
hmm.
is significantly involving 4 and 12 at the sub level and at the sub level, it means there are chances of abortion. Now, in case of abortion, the sixth house also appears. 4, 6, and 12 for abortion.
So
4.
when it comes, when it eighth comes, then it is a C-section.
Yeah, that is cesarean. Then it is surgery. 8 is for surgery.
Okay.
6 is for disease.
Hmm.
6 is for medical expenditure. 6 is for medical care and all that. And then when we talk about fourth house, if only fourth house appears,
Hmm.
there is no 6, no 8, no 12. It means there is a delay in the pregnancy. If we are talking about that, whether the lady is going to be pregnant or not. Okay. Or if the pregnancy has already taken place, right?
Hmm.
Then appearance of 4 would
Hmm.
only be related to the termination of the pregnancy, or it may be related to the abortion, if at all it is linked to 12 through the sublord and the sub-sublord.
Hmm. So in the Dasa Bhukti Antara Prana, if we see the sixth house, means the pregnant
Oh,
lady during the pregnancy will have some discomfort or some.
yes, definitely,
Okay.
definitely, definitely.
Oh,
And that discomfort may be that she may abort, she may get aborted. Appearance,
Some, yeah,
appearance.
some people are will take the bed rest. Like doctor will suggest the
Ha
bed
ha.
rest and everything.
G. See, it all depends upon the combination of the planets. It all depends
Okay.
upon how, what is the combination in a particular time period, right?
Hmm.
So, say pregnancy, the total period for the pregnancy is 280 days, right?
Hmm.
270 plus 10 days, okay?
Hmm.
Or it can be sometimes, 270 plus minus 7 days, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, in that case, a particular dasha is likely to be there. Now, if dasha somehow is not giving you, because dasha has to be neutral or it has to be positive. So we will not
Hmm.
focus much on dasha. We will focus on
Hmm.
bhukti. Now, if bhukti is weak at that period of time, and it
Hmm.
is it is strongly involving 4, strongly involving 8, strongly involving 12, it means there is going to be some kind of trouble during the that particular pregnancy period. And maybe that if the antara of a planet also appears, which is also strongly giving 4, 8 and 12, plus sukshma and prana at a particular moment or month or day of time,
Hmm.
you have this kind of combination, then you can say with certainty that this lady is going to get aborted.
Actually, that is what happened to one of my friend. Her
Ji.
pregnancy of 9 months pregnancy went very well,
Hmm.
but she got the pains. It was normal delivery, and after the delivery, the baby was declared stillbirth. Means he's dead during the delivery.
So for that, we have to predict about the longevity of the child. At that particular instant of time, the Markesh Dasha
Hmm.
would be prominent. That is the prominence of the second house, the seventh house, the Badkesh, and of course, first and eighth house. So the longevity of that particular child is less, or
Hmm.
maybe that at the birth of that particular child, it was
Hmm.
the Markesh Dasha that was strongly into action, and that is why the child
Markesh,
did not survive.
so Markesh Dasha of the mother.
मार्केश दशा ऑफ द चाइल्ड, बर्थ तो हो गया ना उसका, ऑलरेडी बर्थ
Huh.
हैज टेकन प्लेस, सो
Yeah, birth taken place, but he, acha, in that
जी,
day,
यस,
in day in that hour. Okay.
यस,
Okay.
मदर का नहीं, मार्केश
Hmm.
दशा ऑफ द चाइल्ड, बिकॉज ही द बर्थ हैज ऑलरेडी टेकन प्लेस.
Hmm.
Okay, so it means that the second house, first house, second house, seventh house, eighth house, 12th house, okay,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
were very predominant. They were very predominant. And
Hmm.
since they were predominantly participating, that is why the child did not survive.
Hmm. So after birth, after even after 5 minutes or 1 hour, if the baby is declared death, so dead, so we have to see the child birth chart only, not
Yeah,
from the mother's chart.
not the mother's chart. On the
Okay, sir. Thank you.
from the mother's chart, we can correlate.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
We can correlate by taking the mother chart also, because in mother chart the first child would mean the fifth is the ascendant, right? Then eighth
Hmm.
from that house, and by looking into the particular dasha we can have an idea, we can
Hmm.
correlate that chart to the death of the child as well.
Sir, please,
Oh,
small request, sir.
Haji.
I request all members, please cooperate. Don't put into discussions right now. Because the sir is ready to deliver a lecture. Why don't you cooperate? Gayatri is a newcomer. Please be cooperate with
Yes,
him.
sir. This is my first class. Thank you, sir.
Don't
I'm
argue.
understood.
Don't interfere in between. Sir will give
Okay.
separate time for discussion.
Yes,
All
definitely,
are now
Okay,
definitely.
getting
sir.
i
disturbance.
i will discuss all your queries. I will discuss
Okay,
all
sir.
your queries.
Okay, sir.
Right,
Thank you.
right. So, right. Ji. So then today, these were some basic points which are important when we are talking about the childbirth. Now, I am going to place before you the chart which we have already discussed last time, right? So, and then we will look into that chart and we will find out how we will just try to find out that how we can predict that which is the year that the native is likely to get a child. Okay, and how do we reach to such conclusions, and what are the methodology? That is what I'm going to discuss. So I'll just post the chart. Now, can you see the chart?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it visible
Yes, sir.
to
Visible, sir.
everybody?
Everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was the chart Murthy ji has already discussed with you. See, I already discussed the marriage, if I am not wrong. Murthy ji, did you discuss marriage in this chart?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Late
Okay.
marriage.
Okay. So now, this is the chart of the native. This is the chart of Guruji, Guru S.P. Kullarji, late Shri S.P. Kullarji, whose theory we are discussing. Now, his date of birth is 21/3/1941. Time of birth which has been rectified by himself, he himself, that is 22 hours 53 minutes 50 seconds. And then the place is Jalandhar 1, Punjab, India. Longitude, latitude is given. Now, this is the chart we have with us. So, I need to discuss with you now. What we need to discuss on this chart is that when this native is likely to have his first child, how do we predict that? And how do we calculate that? For this purpose, now, first of all, the date of marriage of Khullarji, it is date of marriage is 24th October 1971, 23 hours 07 minutes 20 seconds. So we will directly jump over to the transit chart when his marriage took place. So the date was 24 10 1971 and time was 20 hours 23:07:20. 23:07:20. Okay. Now this is the transit chart when the marriage of Khullarji took place. Now here you know that the after the marriage the child may be born in the first year, maybe in the second year, maybe in the third year, or maybe after 3 years. How do we know that? Whether this period is favorable for the birth of child or it is not favorable for the birth of child. Now, for this purpose, what is important is the transit of Jupiter, the transit of Saturn, the transit of Jupiter. Both the planets and their transit is very important. Okay, so here we find that Saturn is transiting in the sign of Venus. It is in the Taurus sign, whose lord is Venus, and Jupiter is transiting in the Scorpio sign, whose lord is Mars. And at the same time, the Dasha running at that particular moment of time when his marriage took place was Rahu. Now, if I look into the Dasha of Rahu, Rahu Dasha started in 63 and it is right up to 81. So from 71 to 81, there are 10 full years we have with us. It means I need to check what is the potential of Rahu, whether Rahu is giving a promise of childbirth or not. And
Sir,
then,
kindly excuse me.
जी,
Sir, could you kindly arrange the South Indian chart?
वो मैं I'm not comfortable with that chart. I'm
Yeah,
using
okay.
this North Indian chart because I'm not comfortable with that chart.
It's okay, sir. We'll adjust.
Okay,
సార్
so
మీరు అడ్జస్ట్ అవ్వాలి
because I'm
సార్,
not
సార్ని
comfortable, so
కంపల్ చేయకండి. మీకు మధ్యలో ఇంటర్ఫేర్ అవ్వకండి సార్. ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఆల్ ది
I
మెంబర్స్ డోంట్ బి ఇంటర్ఫేర్ ఇన్ బిట్వీన్ ది క్లాస్. సార్ టెంపో విల్ బ్రేక్, ప్లీజ్ కోఆపరేట్.
okay, so I'm not using it because I'm uncomfortable with that
సార్ సార్
chart,
ఓకే సార్, ఓకే సార్, యూ
right?
కెన్ క్యారీ ఆన్ సార్.
I carry on. So now, what is important is on 24/10/1971, 23 hours 07 minutes 20 seconds. The transit chart is just before you, and in the transit, the first important thing is that we have to fix the transit of Saturn and we have to fix the transit of Jupiter. Unless and until we fix the transit of Saturn and Jupiter, because Saturn and Jupiter are two slow moving planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu, and Ketu. So the transit of Saturn is in Taurus sign, transit of Jupiter is in Scorpio sign, whose lord is Mars, and at the same time, the Dasha running was of Rahu. So I will have to look into the significations of the planets first, and after looking into the significations of planet, I will again come back to this transit chart. Okay. Now, if I look into the signification tables by opening this Cuspal interlink table, easy way you know to correlate the different planets. If you look at the potential of the planets, Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, Rahu, and Ketu, their potential is given on the basis of sign lord, star lord, sublord, and sub-sublord, right up to this column. So this part of the chart, that is sign lord, star lord, sublord, sub-sublord, and the appearance of planet in the various cusps, they give me the potential of the planet. And the strength of any planet to give the event is given on the basis of the star in which the planet appears, the sub in which it appears, and the sub-sub in which it is appearing. Now, if you look here, the first planet is Sun because I am focusing on the significations. Sun, you know, for childbirth, fifth house is primary house, 2 and 11 are supporting house. So the linkages with 5, 2, and 11 would indicate that the planet has a potential to give the childbirth. When I look into the strength of Sun, it is appearing in 5, involvement of 5. Then the sub level, it is appearing in 2, 5, and 11. 2, 5, and 11. So involvement of 5, commitment by 2, 5, and 11, and final confirmation by 2 and 11 indicates that Sun has got the power to give the childbirth. Okay, look into the second planet, Moon. It is involving 2 and 11 along with 3 and 7. And it is committing to 2 and 11 along with again 3 and 7 and 9. All these are favorable houses. And the final confirmation is by 2, 3, 7, and 11. Moon also has got the power. It also has got the strength to give the childbirth. But if you carefully look into this part, here the involvement is 211, the commitment is 211, and final confirmation is 211. 5 has not appeared at the sub level and at the sub level, which means that Moon is a very weak planet that will give the childbirth. Moon can appear as a Dasha Lord had there been 5, or Moon can participate in the transit, but Moon as such is not a strong planet, is a very, very weak planet, which may not give the childbirth because involvement of 211, commitment by 211, and final confirmation by 211, there is no 5. So that is why it is a weak planet. Look into Mars, it is 2 5 involvement along with 3 and 7, 2 5 commitment, and then final confirmation is by 2 and 11. It is okay. This can give childbirth. Mercury 2 and 11, commitment by 2 5 11, and final confirmation by 211. It is a strong planet, can give the childbirth. It has got PS also. Mars has got PS also. Moon has got PS also. Now, if you look at Jupiter, it is 2, 5, 11 involvement, commitment by 5, and then final confirmation by 5. It is also okay, can give the childbirth because fulfills all the conditions which are required for childbirth. Linking of 2, 5, and 11. Then Venus 2, 5, 11, 2, 3, 7, 9, and 11, and then again 2 and 7. It is also good. Then Saturn is 2, involvement of 2, commitment by 211, and final confirmation by 211. Now, here also you find that Saturn is not that good, right? Saturn is not that good because there is involvement of 2, commitment by 211, and final confirmation by 211. 5 is not appearing. Rahu, 2, 5, 11 involvement, commitment by 2, 7, and final confirmation by 2 and 11. This is okay. Ketu, 2, 5, 11 involvement, commitment by 2, 7, and 9, and final confirmation by 2, 5. This is also okay. So, two planets, one is Moon and the other one is Saturn, which are weak planets. All other planets are good enough to give the event of childbirth. Right? So, on the basis of this table, we have come to a conclusion that except Moon and Saturn, which are very weak, all other planets they are capable of giving the childbirth. Now we will turn back to our transit chart. Now this is the transit chart on 24/10/1971, 23 hours, 07 minutes, 20 seconds. Here Jupiter is in the sign of Mars and Saturn is in the sign of Venus. We have already discussed that both Mars as well as Venus they are capable of giving the childbirth. Okay, so the transit of Saturn in the sign of Taurus is good to give the childbirth. And similarly, the transit of Jupiter in the sign of Mars is also good to give the childbirth because both Venus and Mars they are significators of the childbirth. At the same time, if you just look into Venus and Mars, then Venus, is a co-ruler of the second house, right? And Mars is a co-ruler of the fifth house. So they have fulfilled the first condition because when the slow moving planets they appear in a particular sign, that sign is favorable if that sign appears as a co-ruler of either the primary house or the supporting house. Sometimes the the lords of these signs may not appear in 2, 5, and 11. Then in such cases we have to focus upon the significations of the planets, and we need to keep in mind that the planet has to be a strong significator of the event of childbirth. So two conditions are here. Number one is that Saturn is appearing in the sign of Taurus. It should be a co-ruler of either 2 or 5 or 11. Primarily 2 and 5, they are important. And similarly, Jupiter is appearing in the sign of Mars, Scorpio, whose lord is Mars, and Mars is a co-ruler of 5. So they are satisfying the first condition. And secondly, both Venus and Mars they are significators of the childbirth. So the childbirth, the event of childbirth can happen in this period. It means that the childbirth to this particular native can happen within say 1 year to 2 year period. So childbirth is expected to happen within a year from the time of marriage of this person. That is one point, or maybe 1 or 2 months above the first year. So, on the basis of the transit of Saturn and Jupiter, we have come to a conclusion that since both Saturn and Jupiter are well placed, they are placed in signs which are significators and significators of the event of childbirth. Therefore, the childbirth, because Jupiter is also strongly signifying. If you look at Jupiter, Jupiter is co-ruler of 2, it is co-ruler of 5 as well as co-ruler of 11. So Jupiter is a very strong significator of 2, 5 and 11, means that the childbirth to this particular native most likely is going to happen within a year of the marriage, right? Now that does not certainly mean that exactly within the year, it can be 2, 3 months beyond that period also. Is it okay, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Is
sir.
this clear?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it
Yes,
clear
sir.
up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is my speed okay?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So the first point is clear. Now, so secondly, if you know that the marriage is happening on 24/10/1971, then the birth of child cannot happen before 280 days or before 270 days. If I add 270 days plus 7, 5 plus 7 or 10 days to it, then what is the tentative date I am likely to have? If I add it 24/10/1971 and I add 280 days to it, then it will be first off, then the date that is going to happen will be 1/8/1972. Am I right? See, the birth of a child can happen within a year, maybe within 13 months or so, maybe within 15 months or so. That is on the higher side. I have taken 3 months extra. Now, in any case, it cannot happen before this period. It means that I have to now focus upon the Rahu Dasha and the Bhukti of Mercury. If you look at the Bhukti of Mercury, it is starting from 25/9/1971 and will go up to 14/4/1974. And I've already pointed out that this native is likely to have a child within an year. So it means that this period falls in this one. So Mercury Bhukti is okay. And we have already discussed in the significations that Mercury is also signifying giving the linkages of 2, 5, and 11, indicating that the birth of child can happen in the Bhukti of Mercury. Now, Mercury Bhukti is okay. So, what we need to do now is the next point, which is important, is now if you look at Mercury here, then Mercury is sub lord of the second cusp and it is sign lord of the 11th cusp. Again, a co ruler of the houses 2 and 11. So I already pointed out that the Dasha Bhukti and Antra planet should be the co-rulers of 2 or 5 or 11 and it fulfills the conditions. So Mercury can be a Bhukti lord. We can possibly have Mercury as a Bhukti lord. Now back here to this chart. Now, if you look at Jupiter here, Jupiter is appearing in sign which is 8 and Jupiter is the lord of which sign? 9 and 12. Since Jupiter in this chart at this particular instant of time, when the marriage took place, was appearing in a sign which is 12 to its own position. See, look here, this is very important. Whenever any planet appears in 8th position to its sign, or in 12th position to its sign, then that position of the planet is not favorable for the transit and the event is not likely to happen. I repeat again. When the marriage took place on 24/10/1971, Jupiter was placed in the sign of Mars, and we have already seen that in the sign of Mars, which is a significator of the event of childbirth, the placement is okay. But since Jupiter is placed 12th to its sign, Jupiter is the lord of Sagittarius, lord of Pisces, and is present 12th to its sign. So, since it is present 12th to its sign, the transit of Jupiter in this position is not favorable for the childbirth. But as Jupiter and Saturn are in conjunction with each other, double transit, Saturn is aspecting Jupiter and Jupiter is aspecting Saturn. In Cuspal theory, we don't take the aspects. But here, what I am pointing out is that we have to focus on double transit. Saturn and Jupiter, when they are aspecting each other, then it's a good sign for any event to happen. And also, Jupiter is a co ruler of the fifth house because Jupiter is the sign lord of the fifth house. Another point which is favorable. It means that during the period after his marriage, there is every likelihood that the conception is likely to happen. And now, what will be the time of conception? I am not commenting on it. Okay, I repeat again what I said. Jupiter is transiting in the sign of Mars. Mars is a significator of 2511. It's a good position. Jupiter, is a sign lord of the fifth house. If you look here, Jupiter, is a co ruler of the fifth house, sign lord of the fifth house. Here it is Jupiter. It means the position of Jupiter is good. And if the position of Jupiter is good, then during this period after the marriage, there is every likelihood that there may be what? There may be possibility of the say conceivement of the child. Now this we can assure only if we have got the chart of the female native. So it is just a guess, that on the basis of the placement of Jupiter, I can say that probably I am not commenting on which month it is because that can only be given if the chart of the female is with us, which is of course not with us. So we can say that there is probability. And I've already pointed out that the position is such that I have already stated that the childbirth event is likely to happen within 1 year of the marriage and at the most within 15 months of the marriage. Okay, so the point which I was emphasizing is that the transit of Jupiter in sign 8 is not good. Why it is not good? Because Jupiter is transiting in 12th sign, in 12th position with respect to its sign. With respect to its sign, it is Lord of ninth, that is Lord of Sagittarius, and is transiting 12th to the sign of Sagittarius. Thereby, the transit of Jupiter is not good over here, and the event is not likely to fructify. Is it clear, please? Is this point clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay. So now, if that is the case, if I add 280 days or 270 days, then the probable date I am likely to have is suppose if I add it to 270 days, then the date will be 20 24 7 1972. Okay, is it fine? If I add 270 days, that is 9 months to the day after the date of the marriage, then the date I am likely to have is 24/7 1972. It was 24/10. To the 10th month, I add 9 months. It becomes 24/7 1972. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And now look at the transit of Jupiter. Jupiter has jumped into the next sign. I already pointed out that the transit of Jupiter in this particular sign is not good. It has already jumped to the next sign, and the next sign, the Lord is Jupiter, and the transit of Jupiter in Jupiter, which is also a significator of the event of child, that is good. So, the position of Jupiter is good to give the childbirth. The position of Saturn is also good to give the childbirth. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay up to this point? Now, then how to proceed further? See, what I am doing is that I am focusing primarily on what? The first point is that I have to look into the significations, right? I have to look into the significations of the different planets. And on the basis of the significations of the different planets, I can know about the virtual strength of the planets to give the event of childbirth. Here, two planets which are very, very weak. One is Moon and the other one is Saturn. One point I missed, that was about the ascendant sub-sublord. See, before we proceed to check out, we always look into the ascendant sub-sublord and look into the significations of the ascendant sub-sublord, whether it is giving me the significations of 2, 5, and 11 or not. And I've already discussed that K2, which is the ascendant sub-sublord, is giving strong significations of 2, 5, and 11. That means that the event of childbirth is likely to happen during the successive periods after the marriage of this particular lady. Okay. Then what is the next point? Next point is about checking about the potency and the procreative power on the basis of fifth sub-sublord. If you look into the fifth sub-sublord, then the fifth sub-sublord is Saturn. If you look into the Saturn, Saturn is in the star of Venus, in the sub of Rahu, and in the sub-sub of Mercury. Now, if you look at the linkages of Saturn, then Saturn is linking to 2, it is linking to 2 and 11. Okay, linking to 2 and linking to 2 and 11 means that the person has got the potency for the potency for what? For the childbirth. Now here, what you are finding is the absence of 5. The absence of 5, if you look at Saturn, the potential of the Saturn, then Saturn is a planet which is the sub-sublord of the fifth house. Now try to understand this point, which is very, very important. I am talking of two different things. I am focusing at the fifth sub-sublord. Now Saturn is the fifth sub-sublord, and since it is fifth sub-sublord, it is automatically connected to the fifth house. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. And then, since it is connected to the fifth house, now it is present in the star of Venus, which is linked to the second house and the seventh house, which means that the person may have more than one child. Right? The person may have, because it is also linked to the seventh and the ninth one, it means that the person may have three children. Okay, three children. Possibility of three children is there. Then it is present in the sub of Rahu, which is giving me 2 and 11. So 2, 11 is there, 2 is there. Saturn itself is present as the sub-sublord of the fifth house, which indicates what? It indicates that this person has got the potency as well as procreative power to reproduce his offspring. अब थ्री चाइल्ड चिल्ड्रन का इसका पॉसिबिलिटी है एंड इफ यू लुक हियर सैटर्न इज आल्सो सब लॉर्ड ऑफ द सिक्स cusp, sub lord of the 10th cusp, sub lord of the 10th cusp. It is 4, 6, and 10. All three are negative houses. Along with this, 8 and 12 is there. It means that out of three, maybe two children are there. Because there is probability that in the due course of his life, in the due course, there are chances that his wife may get aborted. Now, I am not sure whether it has happened or it has not happened, but the chart says that there is a possibility. So it is 2, 7, and 9 is an indication of minimum three children. Again, 2, 7, and 9 indication of three children. Again, 2, and 9, and 11. That indicates three children. And then if he has got two, it means one has got aborted, and the chart itself is giving strong significations of abortion. Is it clear, please?
Yes, sir.
So, ascendant subsublord promises childbirth. Fifth subsublord promises potency and procreative power. Okay, and if you look at the 11th subsublord Jupiter, which is a strong significator of 2, 5, and 11, is indicating what? That there is childbirth is likely to happen. Okay, so we will now proceed back to the transit chart, and what we have concluded up to this point is that on 24/7/1972, when this person is likely to complete 270 days, now we are to find out whether he will have a child at this period of time or maybe at some other period of time, right? So the position of Saturn is okay, the position of Jupiter is okay, right? Now the next point which is important is we need to fix the position of Sun, and till we fix the position of Sun we cannot know that which is the suitable antra which we are likely to select, right? Is it clear, please?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now look at the position of Sun on 24/7/1972 at 23 hours 7 minutes and 20 seconds. If you look at the position of Sun, Sun is posited in ninth house, a good position. Posited in the sign of Moon, again a good sign, good position. But Moon, we have already discussed, is a very, very weak planet. If you remember, we have discussed that it's a weak planet because it is not giving 5. It is not giving the promise of 5. Then, in addition to this, Sun is transiting in a position which is 12th to its own sign. Do you get this point? Whenever a planet, any planet, whenever it transits in a position 8th or 12th to its sign, then it is not likely to give the event. Sun is transiting in 4th sign, which is 12th to the 5th sign, whose lord is Sun, means Sun is traveling in a position 12th to its own sign. So this is not a favorable position. It means that the birth of child is not going to happen by 24/7/1972 in any case. Okay. Now, then what we need to do is we need to progress this position of Sun to the next house so that it shifts in a position, the 12th position to its house. And how do I do it? I have to advance it. So what I do is I advance it by 1 month, because here the degree of Saturn is 8 degrees 25 minutes 32 seconds. So I advance it by 1 month. When I advance it by 1 month, Sun moves into its own sign, and Sun itself, we have already discussed, is a strong significator of childbirth because it is involving 5 strong commitment by 2, 5, and 11, and final confirmation is by 2, 3, 7, and 11. So it is giving us, you can just check it out also, that Sun transiting in its own sign, if you look at the strength involving fine, strong commitment by 2, 5, and 11, along with negative houses 4, 6, 8, and 12, and then final confirmation by 2 and 11 with 4, 8, and 12. Okay, so the transit of Sun in its own sign is favorable for the event of marriage. So the position of Sun in its own sign on 24/8/1972, 23 hours 7 minutes 20 seconds, in fifth sign, whose lord is Sun itself, is a favorable position. Now I have fixed the Jupiter, I have fixed Jupiter, I have fixed Saturn, I have fixed Sun. Now I am only left with the transit of Moon. Now, coming back here, on 24/8/1972, the Antara Lord, we have already fixed Rahu as the Dasha Lord, we have fixed Mercury as the Bhukti Lord, the Antara Lord is Venus. Okay, and Venus will be there from 30th of March 1972 up to 1st of September 1972, and thereafter it will be Sun, which will be up to 17/10/1972. Thereafter it will be Moon up to 3/1/1973. Is it okay? Now 1 year completes by what time? 1 year completes by 24/10/1972. So first of all, we need to focus only on the first year, and then we'll proceed further. Right? So if you look here, now it means up to 1/9/1972, it will be the Venus Antra. After that, it will be the Sun Antra. So I have to focus both on Venus and Sun to find out that which out of these two antras is a stronger one, and I will always, the antra lord has to be very strong. What are the basic rules for getting a antra lord? Now the antra lord, should be again a co-ruler of the primary cusp, or should be posited in the primary cusp, or should be a co-ruler of the 2 and 11, or should be posted in the second house or in the 11th house. Okay, if you look at Sun is neither in 2, nor in 5, nor in 11. Right? Now the question is whether we are to accept it or we are to reject it. Now here we cannot decide merely like this. We will have to look into the favorable position for the transit of Moon. Now, what are the favorable positions for transit of Moon? The favorable positions for the transit of moons are the one in which, see, two important points which are not a part of the cuspal interlink theory. But since we are talking about the transit, and transit plays a very important role, Khullerji has been using these concepts, but he has not mentioned clearly in his book that how to select the transit of sun and moon, though he has been utilizing the same points, which I am going to discuss with you. Now, the transit of sun and moon has to be in such positions that both sun as well as moon, they are aspected by Jupiter. Unless and until sun and moon are aspected by Jupiter, the event is not likely to happen, and almost in 85 to 90% of charts, until this rule is applicable, the event will not happen. And when you personally check into your charts which you have with you, you will find this. And if you use this, you can easily pinpoint that what will be the favorable position of moon or what is the favorable sign in which the moon has to transit. Now back to our topic. If you remember, except moon and Saturn, I already pointed out. See, if you look at the cuspal interlink table, all the planets they are significators of 2, 5, and 11. Am I right? They are all significators of 2, 5, and 11. Moon is very, very weak. Saturn is very, very weak. But Saturn and Moon both are involving 211, committing to 211, and final confirmation by 211. Similarly, Saturn is involving 2, committing to 211 along with 7 and 9, and then final confirmation by 2, 3, and 11. Now, what does this mean? Addition to family. For addition to family, the second house has to very predominantly play a role. The second house has to predominantly play a role when we talk about addition to family. So here, now when you look into this chart, when you look into the transit chart, then what you find here is that Jupiter is posited in the ninth, it is posited in the second house, that is addition to family, is a lord of the fifth house, is sign lord of the fifth house, co-ruler of the fifth house, again a good point, is co-ruler of the second house, again a good point, and then now the position of moon has to be either 5 or 7 or ninth with respect to Jupiter. I repeat again, for the transit of sun and moon, what is important is that both sun and moon should be aspected by the Jupiter for any event to occur, because Jupiter is the karka of the birth of child along with Venus, and without the interplay of sun and moon the event is not likely to happen. Now look at sun. Sun is ninth with respect to Jupiter. Automatically it is aspected by Jupiter, right? Now, what are the favorable positions for the transit of Moon? It will be the fifth position with respect to transiting Jupiter, seventh position with respect to transiting Jupiter, and ninth position with respect to the transiting Jupiter. It means that the trine which the Jupiter makes, that is very important for the transit of Moon. So the trines they are one, one is there, okay, fifth house from Jupiter, seven is three is there, and five is there. So the trine 159 is important along with 3. Is it clear, please? Anji, is this point clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See, transit, the moment you understand how to use the transit, you can easily make the predictions. This is very, very important. Now, if you look at, I again repeat, what are the favorable signs for the transit of Moon? They are the position from the transiting Jupiter. Either it has to be transiting Jupiter or it has to be natal Jupiter. If you look at transiting Jupiter, it is in
Second house.
Sagittarius sign. 5 from this sign is Aries sign. 7 from this sign is Gemini sign. And ninth from this sign is Leo sign. It means the trine is 159 trine is important plus 3. That is important. Okay. If you look at the natal chart, then from the natal Jupiter, the transit of Moon has to be in the fifth sign, in the seventh sign, in the ninth sign. Again, here we are getting the same trine 159 along with 7. Here in transit, we are getting sign 3, and here in Natal chart, we are getting sign 7. Next point. Transit of moon in 12th house. 12th to what? 12th for the ascendant is not favorable. Transit of moon in 8th house. 8th for what? The ascendant. It is not favorable. So, the transit of moon in third sign and seventh sign, both in the natal chart as well as transit chart, they are not favorable position. So then we are left with which trine? We are left with trine 159. And here, if you look into this, we are left with sign 1, 5, and 9. Okay. Now, is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Right. So the trine 159 is very important for the transit of moon, because only at these positions moon will be aspected by Jupiter, and I pointed out that the aspect by Jupiter on moon and sun is very important, right? Kullerji has also been using the same methodology, but in books he has nowhere mentioned that transiting Jupiter is aspecting moon and transiting Jupiter is aspecting sun. And if you look into the charts which are given in the books, you will find that in almost every chart, Jupiter is aspecting moon as well as Jupiter is aspecting sun. And when they are doing it, only then the favorable event, only then the favorable event is likely to happen. So, moon on 24/8/1972 will be in which sign? 11 sign, not a favorable position, right? The transit of moon in sign number 1, Aries, in sign number 3, that is Gemini, in sign number 5, that is Leo, and in sign number 9 are the only four possible positions where moon will give favorable results. Is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now, so moon is transiting on 24/8/1972 in which sign? In Aquarius sign. Is it a position, favorable position? Answer is
No,
no.
no.
So we have to shift moon from Aquarius to moon in Aries. And we have to note down that on what dates moon will be in the Aquarius sign, moon will be in the Leo sign, and moon will be in the Sagittarius sign, because this will be the period in which the childbirth is likely to happen. Now, if I shift moon one day each, then moon will go to the Aries sign on 28/8/1972. Okay, if I just write it down, it is 28/8. So this will be 28/8/1972. Moon will transit in Aries sign. The next sign that I have to see is the transit of moon in Leo sign, because third sign I am not selecting. Why I am not selecting? Because in sign number 3 it will be 8th house, and moon here in the 8th house will be in 12th position to its own sign, so it is not a favorable transit. Is it okay? This point I have been repeating again and again. See, Jupiter was here, it was not a favorable transit. Sun was here, it was not a favorable transit. Moon is here in this sign, which is 12 to the 4th sign, is not a favorable transit. Okay. So then, if it is not a favorable transit, we have to omit it, and we have to check it out that when it will appear in 5th sign. If I again advance it by one day each, then moon appears in Leo sign on 6/9/1972. 6/9/1972. Is it okay? And then if I forward it, one day each, then moon will appear in Sagittarius sign on 16/9/1972. Is it okay? So what do I conclude by doing this? That the birth of child can happen from 28th of August 1972 to 16th of September 1972 is the probable date when the birth of the child is likely to happen. Okay, is it okay? Now, back to the same date when the moon is transiting in Aries sign. Now, it is transiting on in the Aries sign on 28th of August 1972. Since moon is transiting in 6th house, I already pointed out that the transit in 6, 8 and 12 is not considered to be a good transit. So, the event will not fructify. So, this date is gone, 28/8/1972. Date is gone. The next date that we are likely to have is 6/9. This is the date, 6/9/1972. Now, 6/9/1972, 23 hours, 7 minutes, 20 seconds is the time when moon, you know, it goes to the Leo sign. And if you look at the transit, Jupiter is aspecting both sun and moon. Okay. Now, what I need to do here is after fixing it, because it has come first, so I'll have to focus on this time. And if this time doesn't appear to be favorable, then only I'll shift to the next time period. Now, in Leo sign, moon appears on 6 September 1972. And here, when moon is appearing in the Leo sign, it is in Ketu star. In Leo sign, we have got three stars. One is Ketu, second is Venus, and then the third one is
Sun.
Sun. Is it okay? By Leo sign is sign number 5. In 1, 5, and 9 sign, you have got three stars, and the three stars are Ketu up to 13 degrees 20 minutes, then Venus up to 26 degree 40 minutes, and then Sun, that is for the remaining 3 degree 20 minutes. Is it okay? Haji, is it clear up to this point? यहाँ तक क्लियर है? Is it clear, please?
Clear, sir. Clear, sir. Clear, sir.
Sure,
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes,
So
sir.
that now the question is that the transit of moon in which star is going to be more favorable? Whether it is going to be the Ketu star or it is going to be the Venus star. Ketu and Venus, which sign it is going to be more favorable? So again we have to look into this chart. Ketu and Venus. Okay. So Venus is involving 2, 5, 11, committing to 2, 11, and final confirmation by 2, 7, and 9. Ketu is involving 2, 5, 11. Venus is also involving 2, 5, 11. So they are at the same level. Venus, besides involving 2, 5, 11, is also involving 4, 8, and 12. Venus is committing to 2, 3, 7, 9, 11, all positive houses, no negative house. Whereas Ketu is 2, 4, 7, and 9. One negative house 4 and the second negative house is 12. Okay. And final confirmation is by 2, 7, 9, 4 and 12. And here the final confirmation is by 2, 5. Now, both are good. Both are good. And we have to see that either the birth that will take place in the Ketu star or it is going to happen in the Venus star, that can only be decided if we fix the position of the ascendant. Now I again move back to the same chart. I move back to the same chart. Okay. And if I move back to the same chart, then here on 6/9/1972, Moon is in Ketu star. So either the childbirth will happen in the Ketu star or the childbirth will happen in the Venus star. That we can fix by fixing the ascendant. And if you just compare the two planets, Venus and Ketu, then apparently Venus appears to be more stronger as compared to Ketu. Venus is more stronger as compared to Ketu. Right? So, if I change it to Venus star, this is Venus. Is it okay? So it means that Moon will be in the star of Venus on 7/9/1972 after 8 hours 7 minutes 20 seconds. So what we can conclude here, that the birth of first child to this native has happened on 7/9/1972, and to fix the hours, minutes and seconds, what we need to do now, we need to fix the ascendant, and once we fix the ascendant, we can calculate the exact time of birth of this first child to this native. Now, before I proceed on to that part, first of all, if there are queries, if there are questions, if something is not clear, and if you have doubts, I will discuss with you. You think about your questions, okay? And I'll be back in a minute after taking a glass of water.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Just think about the questions.
Okay.
So whatever queries you have, I'll discuss with you.
మాట్లాడేటప్పుడు దాహం వేసింది.
నార్త్ ఇండియన్ చార్ట్ అంత అర్థం కావట్లేదు సార్.
కిషోర్ గారు,
మేడం గారు చెప్పండి.
ఇంతసేపు అయితే బుర్రలో పైకి వెళ్ళిపోతుంది, ఇంకా చేతకి
అదే మరి
కెపాసిటీ తగ్గిపోతుంది.
అంతే మరి రికార్డింగ్ పెట్టుకొని మరొకసారి ఓపిక వినండి క్లాస్ మధ్యలో, మరి వారికి బ్రేక్ చేయకుండా.
అంటే మీతో చెప్తున్నా, ఆయన
అవునండి,
ఫ్లో
అవును మేడం గారు.
అయిపోతుంది కానీ
సార్ నార్త్ ఇండియన్ చార్ట్ అంత అర్థం
సార్
కావట్లేదు.
అర్థం కాకపోతే చేయడానికి ఏం లేదు సార్, మీరు గ్రూప్ నుంచి లెఫ్ట్ అయిపోండి. నా సజెషన్ అదే, మీరు రికార్డింగ్ పెట్టుకొని మీకు మళ్ళీ చార్ట్ వేసుకొని ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసుకోవాలి. డైరెక్ట్గా ఆయన అడిగితే ఎలా అండి, ఆయన చెప్పడం ఎక్కువ.
నేను అడగలేదు
ఆయన దగ్గర మరి ఆర్గ్యూ చేయకండి, అది క్లాస్, అది ప్రొఫెసర్ క్లాస్. అది మనం దాన్ని మీరు మళ్ళీ మీ చార్ట్లో వేసుకొని ఆ ప్రతి వర్డ్. మీరు అడగకపోతే అడిగే వరకు చెప్పానండి. మీరు మనం అర్థం చేసుకొని ప్రయత్నం చేయటమే, అంతేగాని మనం దాన్ని మనం నెగిటివ్గా చూసుకోకూడదు. ఇందులో ఉన్న పాజిటివ్ తీసుకోవడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేయండి.
ఓకే సార్.
తర్వాత మధ్యలో డిస్కషన్ పెట్టకూడదండి. ఆయన ఒక క్లాస్ ఆ టెంపో వెళ్ళిపోతుండాలా. ఆ గాయత్రి గారికి తెలియదు గ్రూప్ నామ్స్ వచ్చి రాగానే ఆయన డిస్కషన్ పెట్టేశారు. సబ్జెక్ట్ ఉండొచ్చు మీకు, ఉంటే మాత్రం డిస్కషన్ పెట్టుకోవాలండి. స్ట్రైట్గా రాగానే డివైడ్ అయిపోతుంది. ఆ గురువు గారు ముందుగా చెప్పాలి, ఆమెకి తెలియదు కదా. గురువుగారు చెప్పలేదు. మనం అందరికీ ఎవరు అడగలేరా ఏంటి? అందరూ అడగగలరు ఇక్కడ, డౌట్స్ అడగలేరు ఏంటి? ఆమె ఒకరికే సబ్జెక్ట్ ఉందా ఏంటి? కొంచెం ఆ డిసిప్లిన్ మెయింటైన్ చేయాలండి. ప్రొఫెసర్ గారి క్లాస్ అండి, అది అవర్స్ టుగెదర్ క్లాస్ ఉంటుంది.
Now your questions, please.
नो सर, आफ्टर कंप्लीशन ऑफ द क्लास ओनली दे आर रेडी टू आस्क सर,
नहीं
प्लीज.
नहीं नहीं, पूछो, क्योंकि इसमें हार्डली 10 minutes 15 minutes more are required, to complete, to know, uh, to calculate the ascendant.
No, so far everyone is ready. I think everyone is understood, sir. Uh, Otherwise, there is a recording, sir. Later they will listen and practice it, sir. You can continue, sir.
Now is the chart visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so after fixing the date, which has come out to be 7th of September 1972. Now what we need to do is we need to fix the ascendant. That what will be the probable ascendant? For the purpose of fixing the ascendant, what is important? For the purpose of fixing the ascendant, now we have to look into the co-rulers of the fifth cusp. The fifth cusp co-rulers are Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. Only three co-rulers: Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. Right? So it means that the ascendant can be either of the co-rulers of the fifth cusp. It can be Mars, it can be Saturn, it can be Jupiter. Now, to get Saturn and Jupiter, another important point here is that we have also to look into the planets. I take the fifth sub-law, which is Saturn, and then I look into the planets which are in star of Saturn. Sun is in star of Saturn. Ketu is in star of Saturn. Okay. Jupiter is in the star of Saturn. Right? Sun is in the star of Saturn. Ketu is in the star of Saturn. And Jupiter is in the star of Saturn. And there is no other planet which is present in the star of Saturn. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
I repeat, to finalize the ascendant. Now here, on the day of childbirth, that is 7/9/1972, the ascendant was rising in the sign of Virgo. Okay, in the star of Moon, sub of Saturn, and sub of Mercury. We need to fix the ascendant of the child, and the role of the co-rulers of the fifth cusp of the native is very, very important in fixing the ascendant for the childbirth. So, first point, the planets Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars can be a part of the ascendant. First important point, right? Is it okay? Say yes or no, bus. That's all what I require. Is it okay? Out of the three co-rulers, that is Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars, we can have either of these as the co-rulers of the ascendant of the childbirth. First important point. Second point, besides these planets, I will also have to look into the planets which are present in the star, in the sub, and in the sub of Saturn. Sun is present in the star of Saturn. Then Ketu is present in the star of Saturn. Jupiter is present in the sub of Saturn. Jupiter is present in the sub of Saturn. and then Ketu is Saturn. Therefore, Sun we have already taken. So we have only how many planets? Sun is one, Ketu is the second one, Jupiter is the third one, which we know that Jupiter is a part of the fifth cusp. These are the only three planets which are present in the star, sub, and sub-sub of Saturn. So it means besides Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn, Sun, Ketu can also be
Jupiter.
the co-rulers of the ascendant of the child. Okay.
Yes.
Then from the Dasha, Bhukti, and Antara, Rahu, Mercury, and Sun, they can also be a part of this. Rahu, Mercury, they can also be a part of this. Okay. Is this point clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the planets which can be the ascendant co-rulers, that is, they are Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Sun, Ketu, Mercury, Rahu. These are the planets which can be a part of the ascendant co-rulers of the child. Now, you know that Sun and Ketu, they can appear in which signs? They can appear in sign number 1, sign number 5, and sign number 9. Only three signs they can appear. So then here, what we need to do? We need to fix the sign lord of the ascendant. And the sign lord of the ascendant that appears to be a more favorable position is either sign number 1 or sign number 5 or sign number 9. Is it okay?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So then, out of 1, 5, and 9 signs, if you look into, because all the co-rulers of the ascendant also have to be strong significators of the event of childbirth, right? So out of sign 1, 5, and 9, because Sun appears in first sign, Aries sign, Leo sign, and Sagittarius sign, is a star lord. Ketu also appears as a star lord of the Aries sign, the Leo sign, and the Sagittarius sign. So I will fix the sign Lord for the ascendant to be the Aries sign, or it can be at the most the Sagittarius sign. So if I fix it as Aries sign or ascendant, Aries sign as the ascendant sign or the Sagittarius sign as the ascendant sign, I can roughly have an idea that what is the time for the birth of the child. Suppose now if I fix it to Aries sign. Now, before I do that, one more point you need to keep in mind. If you look here, on 7/9/1972 at 8 hours 7 minutes 20 seconds, the Sukshma Lord is Moon. Am I right? Moon is the Sukshma Lord. And at this particular time, Venus is
Prana Lord.
the
Prana Lord.
Prana Lord.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The Sukshma of Moon will appear up to 13 hours 59 minutes 34 seconds 710 milliseconds. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you look into the significations of Moon, Moon is not giving fifth house and it is not a co-ruler of the fifth house. Am I
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir.
This we have already discussed.
Yes, sir.
Now, if that is the case, it means Moon cannot be the suitable Sukshma for the event of childbirth. Right?
Yes,
See
sir.
what is important. I have discussed here 2 points. Firstly, I have selected the planets which can probably be the co-rulers of the ascendant of the child. Okay. Now, whatever planets have to be the co-rulers of the ascendant of the child should definitely be, certainly be linked to the fifth cusp co-rulers of the native. Right? This is very important. Secondly, now I also need to focus upon the Sukshma Lord, and the Sukshma Lord on 7th of September 1972 at 8 hours 7 minutes 20 seconds is Moon. And a Sukshma Lord has to be a planet which is linked to this fifth cusp, which is linked to the fifth cusp. And Moon is neither linked to fifth cusp nor it is linked to the second cusp. For any planet to be a Sukshma Lord, the first essential condition is that it should be linked to the primary cusp, and secondly, should be present in either any of the supporting cusp or in all the supporting cusp. And Moon here is only present in the supporting cusp. It is not in any way linked to the primary cusp. And since it is not linked to the primary cusp, therefore Moon will not be selected as the Sukshma Lord, and I have to proceed to the next Sukshma, that is Mars. And Mars, is a co ruler of the fifth cusp. Is this point clear, please?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Right. So now I have 2 points with me. One, I know that Mars can be the probable Sukshma. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Rahu can also be the Sukshma.
Jupiter.
Jupiter can also be the Sukshma, but we have to focus on this date only.
Yes, sir.
7/9/1972. So thereby, only Mars can be the probable Sukshma Lord for the birth of the child. So Mars Sukshma starts at 13 hours 59 minutes 34 seconds. So I will change the time here. 13 hours 59 minutes and 35 seconds. Instead of 34, I have taken 35. And I calculate, I get Mars as the Sukshma. Right? When I am getting Mars as the Sukshma, then what I am getting here is I am getting Sagittarius. Sagittarius, I am getting here
Yes, sir.
Sagittarius as the sign in which the first cusp rises. Now, I've already discussed that this sign is okay. The Sagittarius sign is okay because Ketu
Star is
and
also
Sun
okay.
yeah, can appear in this particular, can appear
Yes, sir.
because Ketu can be star lord, Venus can be star lord, Sun can be star lord, Sun can be a part of the ascendant co-rulers of the child, Mercury can be a part of the ascendant co-ruler of the child, Mars can be a part of ascendant co-ruler of the sign of the child, as well as Saturn can be a co-ruler of the sign. So Jupiter, out of Jupiter and Mars, the second sign that I have with me. Because here now, what I need to do, I need to fix the Prana Lord. Is it okay? Sukshma Lord I have fixed. I need to fix the Prana Lord. And to fix the Prana Lord, what is important? To fix the Prana Lord should be should be what? Should be a co-ruler of the primary cusp and the supporter and should also be associated with either one of its supporting houses or all the supporting houses, right? So that now either Mars Sukshma and Mars Prana is okay, or Mars Sukshma and Rahu Prana is okay, because there are two possibilities. The birth has to happen on 7/9/1972. I have to simply fix the time of birth of the child. So on 7/9/1972 up to 17/47/46, Mars is acting as the Prana Lord, and thereafter Rahu is acting as the Prana Lord, And Rahu in the natal chart represents both Mercury as well as Sun. Mercury as well as Sun. Is it clear? So Rahu is also acting as the Dasha Lord. So Rahu is Mercury as well as Sun. And if you remember, both Mercury and Sun, they are strong significators of the event of, oh, I'm sorry. They are strong significators of the event of marriage. Look here, Mercury. Mercury is giving me 2 and 11 involvement and then commitment by 2, 5, 11, which is very, very strong. Look at Sun, involving 5 and commitment by 2, 5, 11, which is very, very strong. Right? Look at Mars, involving 2, 5, committing 2, 5, final confirmation by 2, 11. Okay? See, Mars is good for the event. Rahu is also good for the event. Now, either the birth of the child has to happen in the prana of Mars, Mars Sukshma, Mars Prana, or it has to be Mars Sukshma, Rahu Prana. I have to decide that which one I have to take amongst the two. So then here I have to compare the strength. If I look into the strength, then Mars is involving 2 and 5, committing by 2 and 5. Mars is involving 2, 5, committing 2, 5, final confirmation 2, 11. Okay, so it is 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 11. Rahu involving 2, 5, 11, committing 2, 7, and final confirmation is 2, 11. Rahu is representing Mercury as well as it is representing Sun. Now look at Mercury and strength of Mercury and Sun. Mercury is 211 involvement and 2511 commitment, a strong commitment. And again 211 final confirmation. Sun is involvement of 5, commitment by 2511, a strong commitment, and then final confirmation by 211. Okay, so what does this mean? What does this mean? That out of the two prana that I have with me, out of the two prana that I have in me on the day of the event, the Rahu prana, because the nodes are always stronger than the planets. First point, repetition of the same prana will occur and happen only if Mars appears in all the three houses, that is 2, 5, and 11. This is one basic principle which Murthy ji must have discussed with you number of times. For any planet to be repeated, for any planet to be repeated, then it has to give the promise of all the three cusp, the principal cusp, primary cusp, as well as the supporting cusp. Mars is not giving me the promise of all the three cusps. Thereby, instead of Mars, we will select Rahu as the prana lord. Right? Now, if Rahu is the prana lord, then definitely the birth of the child will happen after 1747-46. So I change this time to 1747 and 47. Okay. And then when I do the calculations, the sign which I am getting over here is Aquarius sign. Now, what did I conclude in the beginning? Either it has to be Aries sign, or it has to be Leo sign, or it has to be Sagittarius sign. The Leo sign is gone, the Sagittarius sign is gone, and we are only left with the Aquarius sign. Thereby, we are only left with the Aries sign. Thereby, we will change this Aquarius sign to the Aries sign. And to do it, I will have to keep on, Here it is. So it is Aries sign. The cusp is rising at 56 minutes and 50 seconds. Rashi Lord is Mars. Star Lord is Ketu. This is okay. Sublord we have to fix. And sub-sublord we have to fix. The sub-sublord should be related to the moon star. So the sub-sublord is Venus and the moon star is Venus. It appears to be okay. The only point is that I have to change the sublord. So Mars is there, Ketu is there. Then what I need to do is either I fix the sublord as Saturn, or I fix the sublord as Mercury, or I fix the sublord as Sun, or I fix the sublord as Rahu, and then finally the sub-sublord as Venus. That will be the exact time for the birth of the child. Is it clear, please? Is it clear up to this
Yes, sir.
point?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear up to this point? So now let us carry on with the exercise, this exercise further. To fix the, I will only now change minutes. It is Moon is there, Jupiter is there, and after Jupiter it is Saturn is there.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Saturn is there, right? So I got Mars, I got Ketu, I got Saturn because Ketu is in star of Saturn. Saturn is fifth cup sub-sublord. And now I need to fix the sub-sublord. Instead of Jupiter, I fix it as Venus. And to do this, now what I need to do is I need to change it by minutes. So sublord is gone. Mercury, I can have Mercury also. Mercury is the Bhukti lord. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Mercury, and then it is Venus. So it is Mars, Ketu, Mercury, Venus, and the time that I have got is 20 hours, 59 minutes, 47 seconds is the time of birth of the first child to this native. Now we have to confirm this child. Maybe Murthy ji.
He's not there, sir.
Acha, he's not there.
Yes, sir.
So we have to confirm this time. This time.
Yes,
I
sir.
think we can write down this time and we can check it out that what is the time which is given in the book. Okay.
Sir.
So we can refer to that time and it is 20 hours 59 minutes 47 seconds is the appropriate time that the birth of this first child to the native has happened. Now your questions please. If you have questions, if you have queries, and if something is not clear to you, I will explain it. See, prediction may see to when you keep on practicing, you will also come to conclusion in the same manner.
Yes, sir. Sir, in the book KCL, there is no time, exact time is not given, sir.
Okay, okay, then this is the appropriate time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There is nothing wrong with this time.
Okay,
What
okay,
I
okay.
feel is
No,
there
okay.
is nothing wrong with this
Yes,
time.
sir.
It is
Yes, sir.
20 hours 59 minutes
Yes,
47
sir.
seconds.
We too agree, sir.
That that is the time when the birth of this child has happened, and then the probable dasha bhukti antara sukshma prana, it must be Rahu, Mercury, Sun, Mars, and Rahu,
Yes, sir.
right? So this is the DBASP
Exact
in which
procedure.
the child birth has occurred.
Yes, sir. Exact procedure, sir. Procedure.
यही है. Okay. See, I just repeat how I have done it. No, I have done it in a way different way from what is given in the books,
Yes, sir.
just to
Yes, sir.
make it easier, just to make it easier to do. There are several points which you need to keep in mind. Okay, I just repeat what I have discussed so far. First important point is that the birth of child can happen only after marriage. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so
Sir,
the transit chart of the marriage is the time period from where we have to start calculating the birth of the child. Okay,
Yes, sir.
second point. Now, the birth of the child cannot occur before 270 plus 10 days, right?
Yes, sir.
Third point, while analyzing the birth of the child or analyzing any chart, the transit of Saturn and transit of Jupiter is very, very important. Saturn has to transit in a sign which is co-ruler of primary cusp or the supporting cusp. Jupiter also needs to transit in a sign which is a supporter of primary cusp or the which is a co-ruler of the primary cusp or the supporting cusp. First important point. Suppose sometimes they are not the co-rulers, then in that case they have to be strong significators of the event giving houses. In the present case, we had Venus, Saturn in Venus sign, Saturn in Taurus sign, whose lord is Venus, strong significator of the event of child, and Jupiter transiting in the sign of Mars, that is Scorpio sign, and again Mars is a strong significator of the event of childbirth. So both these satisfy the conditions. It means the position of Saturn and Jupiter is okay. The next point that we have to focus here is that before proceeding further, we have to check the ascendant sub-sublord, we have to check the fifth sub-sublord, we have to check the 11th sub-sublord. Ascendant sub-sublord should definitely be a significator of 2, 5, and 11 houses to give the event of childbirth. The fifth sub-sublord should also be a significator of 2, 5, and 11, which would justify, which would tell about the potency and the procreative power of the native. And the 11th cusp sub-sublord and the sign in which it rises will give us an idea about whether the event is likely to happen early or it is likely to be delayed. Okay. Then after assessing these, we have to check the strength of the planets in terms of the star, sub, and sub-sub. We look into this table, find out that which among all the planets cannot give the event or are unfavorable for the event. So here Moon is unfavorable, Saturn is unfavorable. What does it mean? That more, both Moon and Saturn should not appear in the transit, because the transit in the sign of Moon and in the sign of Saturn is not likely to fructify the event. All other planets are strongly linked to 2, 5, and 11 cusp, and they are strong significators of the event of childbirth. Right? Then, the next point that I discuss with you is, after doing all this, we have to check. Jupiter, was transiting in a sign 12th to its own sign, and it is not considered to be a favorable transit. So, event will not happen till Jupiter transits into its own sign. And when it transits into its own sign, we have to check it out whether Jupiter is a co-ruler of 2, 5, and 11. We know Jupiter is the sign lord of fifth, it is the sign lord of 2, and it is the sub-lord of 11th, means it's a strong significator for the event of marriage. Thereby, the transit of Jupiter in the sign of 9, in the sign of Sagittarius, in its own sign, will definitely be positive. After checking it out, then what we need to do after advancing the time till Jupiter moves into this, we have come with a date, and then from that date onwards, we have to check now the transit of, we have already fixed Saturn, we have already fixed Jupiter. Now we need to fix Sun and Moon. What is important? Both Sun and Moon are favorable only when they are in the aspect of Jupiter. I said, I am repeating it again. This point is not written in the books. Please note it down. This is very, very important point for the transit. Khullerji has used these points, but in nowhere in his books he has mentioned these points. So that is why I am repeating again and again. First point of transit is transit of a planet, 12th to its sign, 8th to its sign is always unfavorable. Right? And secondly, the transit of Sun and Moon is favorable only when they are in trine of Jupiter. They are in trine of Jupiter. They are in favorable transit. So Jupiter in transit is over here in this house. Therefore, Sun and Moon should be in Aries sign, should be in Gemini sign, should be in Leo sign, or should be in Sagittarius sign. And then we accordingly advance the time to fix that. And gradually, after doing all this, we have to focus upon the now while we do all this, Antara Lord automatically gets focused. And when Antara Lord automatically gets focused, we have again to check into the Cuspal table that whether that particular Antara Lord is a significator of the child event or not. So we have seen Sun is a strong significator of the event of childbirth. After fixing the Antara and after fixing all this, we have to focus upon the Sukshma. And Sukshma Lord has to be a planet which is the co-ruler of the primary cusp and one or all the supporting cusp. Only that planet can be a Sukshma Lord. Like in the present case, out of three planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars, either one of these can be a Sukshma Lord. Then how do I select the Sukshma Lord? First come, first serve. Now, first come, first served is after Moon, Mars comes. Then after Mars, you have Jupiter. And then after Jupiter, you have Saturn. You have to follow in the same sequence. So since Mars comes first, we have to select Mars as the Sukshma Lord. Then the next important point is a Sukshma Lord will be repeated only when the same planet is repeated, only when that planet promises or that planet is a significator of all the three houses. Like Jupiter could have been the Prana Lord because it's a significator of all the three houses 2, 5, and 11. So Mars, since it is appearing only in 2 and 11, therefore it is not a significator of all the houses. We proceed on to the next one, Rahu. Rahu is Mercury and Sun, which are strong. See, Mercury is appearing here, Sun is appearing here, and Rahu is appearing as the Dasha Lord. Thereby, Rahu can be a strong significator. Look here, Rahu is Mercury and Sun. Rahu is Mercury and Sun. Look here, Rahu, then Mercury's, and then Sun. All the three, they are all related to Rahu, Mercury and Sun. They are repeating. Similarly, here Rahu can again be repeated because Rahu is again Mercury and Sun. So if you look into the whole chart, we have only Rahu planet is there, Mercury and Sun, they are the representative planets, and again Rahu is there. Is it okay? So it is Rahu, Mercury, Sun, or substitute Rahu with Mercury, it is Mercury, Mercury, Sun, and Mercury. If you substitute Rahu with Mercury, it becomes Mercury, Mercury, Sun, Mars, and Mercury. If you substitute with Sun, it becomes Sun, Mercury, Sun, and Sun. Right? So you have only these planets which can give the event of the childbirth, and the time that we have calculated is 20 hours, 59 minutes, 47 seconds. Right? So that is the time at which the birth of the child has happened. And how to do it? The ascendant has to be fixed. After doing all this, we have to fix the ascendant. And how to select the ascendant? The selection of ascendant is based upon the co-rulers of the fifth cusp. That is first point. It is based upon the ascendant sub-sublord, and all planets which are placed in the star sub and sub-sub of ascendant sub-sub lord, as well as the dasha lord, bhukti lord, and the antra lord can be the possible planets of the ascendant, and accordingly I have fixed here Mars, Ketu, Mercury, and Venus. Okay, Mercury is the Bhukti Lord, right? Venus is a strong significator, we have already discussed, and Venus is the moon star. So, moon star has to be related to the ascendant sub lord. And then how we got Mars, I have already discussed by getting changing over to the Prana Lord. And then Ketu is the star lord because only three signs are possible 1, 5, and 9, where you can have Ketu as the star lord. Thereby, the Aries sign is selected as the sign rising on the ascendant of the child and accordingly the time for the birth of the child. Now, your questions, please. Any questions? You are welcome to ask. किसी को कोई भी डाउट हो you are welcome to ask. I know it is going to be a bit tougher for you because it is going to take you some time. And in routine, when I'll discuss 2, 3, 4, 5 charts with you, you will understand how to arrive at the actual timings. Your questions, please.